Hey everybody, welcome to the Potato Couch. This is Tio, and it's time for another Tater Talk, where I talk to taters. I've got to work on something. Anyway, so today I wanted to talk about Fairy Tail, because it's an anime slash manga series that I like. I like it quite a bit. It's my favorite shonen series, and yes, I am like taking into consideration all of the shonen series, like Naruto and Bleach, and I think I just hit a knob on the side of the headset. Okay, just all right, all right. So sorry about that. So I wanted to talk about Fairy Tail, and I was specifically going to discuss Fairy Tail's overarching plot because it does have one. For those of you who don't know, and like when you think of a shonen series, most people don't think of overarching plot. Like when people think of long-running shonen, it usually has to do with like, One Piece, which is just one adventure to the next. There is an overall goal, but like there's no real overarching plot, at least not really until you get to like the fight between Ace and Blackbeard, and even then it's really loose. Um, and like Bleach, one could say that while it does have an overarching plot, it kind of stopped caring about it after a while and was really focused on fights. And there's really only so long you can sit there and watch two guys swing their swords at each other before you get bored. I thought I couldn't get bored with a fight, and then I watched Bleach. My mistake was skipping the filler. So, anyway, back on message. I'm not here to complain about Bleach. That's an entirely different video. Um, I'm here to talk about Fairy Tail, and it does have an overarching plot. And for anyone who reads the manga, um, well, I guess I'm really more saying this for anyone who doesn't read the manga, but whatever. Those who have read the manga, like in the volumes, know that at the back of each volume there's like an afterword by the original author Hiro Mashima, and he talks about how he is kind of making it up as he goes along. He had no idea where the series was going. I have to speak in the past tense about Fairy Tail now because it recently ended. That's saddening. But so yeah, he had no idea where he was going with the series. He was just kind of writing it because it was fun, and there's really no better reason than that, to be honest. Um, well, and also it was making him money and earning him a living, and that, I guess that's a better reason. But we're not here to think about the real world. So he would talk a lot about how he would have ideas for moments, and then he would write the story just to get to those moments that he thought of, and it was really compelling in my opinion. It was a very interesting read slash watch. So and but one thing that I noticed is staggeringly like unique to him as an author though is that even though he's making it up as he goes, flying by the seat of his pants, kind of like Akira Toriyama did with Dragon Ball, unlike Dragon Ball, Fairy Tail plants the seeds of its final conflict as early as its first arc, like its first major arc, which is staggering for such a long-running shonen series. Um, but the more you think about it, the more you realize, oh, that makes sense, and I'm going to explain why that makes sense. Um, so the first major arc of Fairy Tail, at least the way I see it, is the Eisenwald arc, where they're trying to stop Aragorn and his Dark Guild from using a flute to kill the guild masters. Before that, it was just like the mini arc of Duke Everloo trying to get the Daybreak book back, and then the two one-shot stories of Lucy being introduced to Natsu and joining Fairy Tail, and then they went and got Makao back from the monkey thing in the mountains. Except, well, he was the monkey thing in the mountains, but so anyway, but yeah, Eisenwald is the first arc, or lullaby rather, and in it they introduce the Lullaby Demon, which is a demon from the Book of Zareth, which, hearing that, it sounds like just a generic evil wizard's name. You don't think anything of it, and you don't feel like it's going to, impact anything moving forward. It's the first arc of a long-running shonen. It's just kind of there. And then they defeat Lullaby and move on. And then the very next arc is the Galuna Island arc, where they go to um, stop the moon from being purple, I guess. Well, it's because of it's a curse thing where a former friend of one of the main characters is trying to reawaken a demon from the Book of Zareth. There's that recurring theme again. Uh, to so that he can kill it. Essentially, he wants to wake it back up so he can kill it, which is stupid, but he still tries to do it. And then when they wake it up, it turns out it's been long dead anyway. So it was all pointless. And then they take a break from that to go into the feud with Phantom Lord, which isn't totally pointless though. It's not. It doesn't feel fillery because it introduces important characters, very important characters, moving forward, as well as does a little bit of world building. Shows that not all legal guilds are good guilds, and not all people in those bad guilds are bad people. So, and it also expands Lucy as a character, introducing her backstory. So like you can see, um, as early as the third arc, even though there was no plan, Fairy Tail was basically just planting seeds of everything that was going to happen later. I'm still in the process of reading the manga, so I can't really comment on the final conflict. And the anime has yet to be concluded. But so I'll just cover like what I know here, and that is all the way to the end of the anime. So after the whole um, feud with Phantom Lord, one of Phantom Lord's members basically just kind of straight up joins the guild, Juvia, who's like the best character. And the way Gray treats her upsets me. He just ignores her. Love her, Gray. She deserves it. Anyway, um, so then they have the whole Tower of Heaven thing, which revolves around Urza, and introduces Jalal in a more significant way. And what is Jalal trying to do? Well, I'll tell you. He's trying to revive Zareth. So again, things are still being impacted by a concept that was introduced in the first arc. And then after that whole Tower of Heaven thing, where Natsu goes into Dragon Force for the first time, which was really cool. Uh, Michael's doing air guitars over here. Um, he goes into Dragon Force for the first time and saves Urza, defeats Jalal. We assume Jalal is dead, and then everything moves on. And then it's another kind of feels a little fillery arc. It's the Battle of Fairy Tail, where Loxus decides that he wants to be in control and makes the entire guild fight each other. And then holds the entire city of Magnolia hostage to guarantee that everyone will participate as he wants them to. But not everybody participates. This is also the arc where it's revealed that Gajiel has joined the guild as well, and he was from the Phantom Lord guild. They were the bad people that was beaten on Fairy Tail a couple arcs ago, and then he joins the guild and becomes a legitimately trustworthy member, which I think is really cool. It's one of my favorite. Gajiel's one of my favorite redemption stories because it may feel very sudden, but at the same time, it's still believable. So yeah, Gajiel is one of my favorite redemption stories for shonen characters, personally. And then this arc also cements the importance of Dragon Slayers and introduces like that there might be something more to Dragon Slayers than just that they use dragon magic. And this is really where the age of fairy tales short story arcs comes to a close, and it ends with like some important character stuff too, with Natsu and Gajiel working together to defeat their guildmate Loxus, and Natsu and Gajiel hate each other, so that's significant. And then defeating Loxus and the master banishing him, that's also important, and Loxus realizing the error of his ways, whereas up to this point he's just been presented as a self-important douchebag, so that's also significant. It's just the first season of Fairy Tail is very interesting all around, and it like you can basically take the first 48 episodes of the anime as introduction to the world, which that's kind of just how you have to take anime in. It's like, oh, you got man, you gotta get 20 episodes in before it gets good. So that's what it was like for watching Naruto for me. Um, but I'm not talking about Naruto. I'm talking about Fairy Tail. So yeah, like 48 episodes into the series, and you feel like you're appropriately introduced through a series of short arcs. And yes, for Fairy Tail, I do consider 6 to 10 episodes to be short arcs. Because from this point forward, Fairy Tail story arcs are typically 20 episodes in length. So that's pretty significant. In manga, it went from being 3 volumes per arc to being about 6 volumes per arc. So it's they got longer. And I remember the very first long arc I watched. All I could think was, "Geez, when are they gonna win? When are they gonna win already? They've been in this same forest fighting these same 6 people for weeks. At least it felt like weeks." And of course, that was also harder for me to watch because I wasn't watching anime in subtitles at that time. So I watched the first season of Fairy Tail in English, and then I found, that the rest of it was on Hulu because I watched it on Netflix to begin with. The rest of it was on Hulu, but only the first season was in English on Hulu. So I had to watch the rest of it in Japanese and read subtitles, and I wasn't used to it yet, so it was a little more difficult for me to get into. So it took a lot longer for me to watch. Um, So yeah, as a result, the first Arashi Seis arc ended up kind of becoming my least favorite simply because it took so long to get through, which is really weird because I do consider the Arashi Seis to be among my favorite fairy tale villains. But this marks the second time that Natsu goes Dragon Force. Jalal is revived and revealed to be a good guy in reality. And they also introduced the single most adorable girl child character in shonen series. I'm specifying in shonen because she's not the most adorable girl child in anime. That would probably have to go to Rin from Usagi Drop. But the most adorable girl child in a shonen anime is Wendy, the Sky Dragon Slayer. She pretty much immediately became one of my absolute favorite characters. I don't know why when I was watching anime early on, I was under the impression that all child characters were going to be annoying. I found that I like more of them than I dislike. But yeah, so I was legitimately surprised to actually like Wendy as a character because I thought, oh great, they're bringing a kid into it. She's going to be annoying. But then when I, actually experienced the character, I was like, oh, she's actually really cool. So yeah, and she becomes a very important character moving forward as well. And then after the whole Nirvana thing, they kind of take a break from it, um, from the main story, going to the Edelas arc, which oddly enough is centered around the animal companion character Happy. And you wouldn't think that the comic relief talking animal character in a shonen anime would have a legitimately emotional and heart wrenching a story arc devoted entirely to him, but Fairy Tail managed it, and it did so really well, in my opinion. Uh, so yeah, it was a weird arc, but really good. It also expanded upon some of the guild's more mysterious members, like Mystigan, who, as it turns out, was just an alternate reality version of Jalal. So I might be spoiling things for Michael by accident. Sorry, but yeah. So Mystigan was an alternate reality version of Jalal. He sends all the cat people to the main fairy tale universe and permanently closes the portal between worlds. Uh, that sort of thing. So basically, the cat characters are now just a regular appearance in Fairy Tale because now they're an entire race of people on Fairy Tale's world. So also in this arc, we're introduced to Panther Lily, who becomes Gajiel's cat because he was the only Dragon Slayer without a cat. And so, oh, hang on, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry, just got it back. Okay. Um, So, oh, and yes, another important character who was thought to be dead since before the events of the series, Lysana, the younger sister of the characters Elfman and Mirajane, and also the kind of maybe romantic interest for Natsu. Turns out she wasn't dead; she was just in Edelas the whole time, so she came back. I'm ruining the series for Michael, and so yeah. Again, this is something that was present basically since the beginning of the series that is followed up on. Like, it's very rare that you see a manga author who makes things up by the seat of their pants on the fly follow up on like the storylines that they've introduced and things that the seeds that they've planted and things that they've come up with. Like, read read Dragon Ball because I've seen some Dragon Ball too, and while it does have a singular continuous story, it's not always connected. Like, what they're doing in this arc might not exactly be a direct result of what they did in the last arc. Um, as far as Dragon Ball Z goes, they ignore any semblance of actual character progression and just fall back on let Goku handle it. Um, yeah, that's another video I want to make too. But what's that, Michael? Yeah. So yeah, overall, I think I think that not people don't give Fairy Tale really as much credit as it deserves because for as trashy as a lot of people say it is, and as cliche as its conclusion always is, the power of friendship will get me through this. Um, I enjoy it, and I do I love its characters. I love its world. And it's just the fight scenes are always engaging to me personally, even though they do amount to just hit him harder and he'll go down most of the time. They do find like interesting ways to portray those fight scenes. Um, so I don't know. I don't know what it is about Fairy Tail. It's just my favorite long anime, I guess. I have to qualify. I tend to compartmentalize anime by like genre and length and all that. So for a long shonen anime, Fairy Tail's number one to me. Um, but yeah, and I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the manga and when they hopefully release a third anime series so I can watch it as well. Um, and I'm really looking forward to seeing like how it all concludes because based on what I saw at the end of the second series of the anime with the whole Tartaros arc, um, they've revealed a lot about Zareth, and they're hinting at a lot of revelations for Natsu and the other Dragon Slayers. And all right, Michael, plug your ears really hard,
Okay.
and yeah, hum gently to yourself. Um, and I have to say that the moment when Igneel died was personally heart wrenching because that was, he was the goal. He was this show's equivalent of One Piece, essentially, or sorry, the One Piece. He was what Natsu was looking for, and he found him, and he just died, ripped in half by another dragon. So yeah, that was definitely, I think, a ballsy move. So I'm looking forward to seeing Natsu get his revenge for that. Yeah. Okay. So if you didn't hear that, Michael says he doesn't know why he's plugging his ears because he's got to edit this. So he'll hear everything I just said when it's time to edit this video. I think for now, I'm just going to say it was a bold move to do that. And especially considering the fact that that's the way the anime kind of ended. I know there was the prequel Fairy Tail Zero thing that went for 12 episodes before it technically ended, but for them to end it that way was, well, like for the main story, that was really big. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing a dragon slayer actually slay a dragon at some point. So I guess that's it. Um, my overall message is Fairy Tail's really good. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it. If you haven't read it and you're interested in reading it, you should read it. Um, if it's not for you, then fine, don't watch the whole thing. But just know that if you don't watch the whole thing, and if you don't like it, and if it isn't for you, then you're dead to me, personally. So, that's it. Bye.